Okay, continuing on in this area of psychology. I'll get this down here. Excuse me. So we can see it a little bit better. This is video 2. It is the prologue and chapter 1. Okay, on chapter 1, no quiz. We will have a few questions and assignments, but in tests and quizzes, there's no quiz over chapter 1. Instead, what we're looking at here is some of the influences of behavior. And we could go through this here, and we can make an entire course out of what you see there in the yellow, but we're not. But we have our behavior is the center of what we are looking at. Your behavior, my behavior. As I said in the previous video, behavior that you have, maybe you want to succeed in this course. I hope you do. And that's a behavior. But if someone says, no, I do not want to succeed in this course, and I have a right to fail, I have to support that because it's your choice, but it's a behavior. So what goes into the behavior, there are 4 aspects here: emotions, thoughts, the social aspect, the social influences, our environment, and our physical being. These all go into the makeup of behavior. This is one element that I certainly want to have you remember, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at our behavior. When I say our behavior, we're looking at self, and then we're looking at others. So what we have in psychology, it has a long past and a short history. The long past means that it goes clear back to the Greek philosophers with Plato and Aristotle. We're not going to go back there. There's a course in the history of psychology, which I think is a very interesting course. And so we do have that. So I want you to know that is the long past, but a short history. So actually, psychology then, the start of psychology as we know psychology today was in the year 1879. And this is when an individual by Wilhelm Wundt established a laboratory in Europe to analyze and to study consciousness, or what is known as structuralism. We're going to stop there. I'm throwing these terms out. I will be repeating these terms so they get to be commonplace. To start out in our study, as far as the prologue is concerned, we have 3 forces. 3 forces, 3 schools of thought. We could say 3 approaches, but we're going to call it the 3 forces. The first one is psychoanalytical, and you see it there. Behaviorism, and you see it there. And humanism. Those are the 3 forces. Now, we have other approaches besides that, but for right now, just look at the 3 forces. First of all, psychoanalytical, the main figure in that was an individual by the name of Sigmund Freud, who based individuals' behavior, going back to behavior again, on sex and aggression. And of course, he was roundly condemned for that, and people didn't like what he was saying because it is based on sex and aggression. Let me ask you this. Did you ever watch a TV program that did not have sex and aggression, or at least alluded to? Some programs, yes, but the majority of programs have this element in, and people watch them. I can expand on this, but we are going to continue on for right now. Psychoanalytical, force number 1. Force number 2, behaviorism. The individuals here is Pavlov, who had a dog salivate at the tone. It was conditioned to do that. We have Watson, who conditioned a young person, I believe little Albert was 6 months old, to fear white objects. We have Skinner, who wanted to develop a rocket that was guided by a bird. I think the bird was probably a pigeon, and this was during World War II. And the pigeon, by pecking on certain keys, would guide the rocket. Well, rockets in World War II were made to explode. Now, I don't know how far they got along with this, whether or not he really ever tested this. I do not believe so. But the U.S. government was kind of interested in this. I don't know if Skinner figured out what happened to the pigeon when the rocket exploded. I'm not quite sure. Maybe the pigeon guided the rocket so far, and then when he got it on its target, maybe the pigeon parachuted out. I don't know. It's just a possibility. Then we have humanism. Humanism is the third force. 1, psychoanalytical is a force. 2, behaviorism is a force. 3, humanism is a force. Founded by Maslow and Rogers. You may have seen Maslow's hierarchy, starting with the needs of food and water and air, and going up to self-actualization. Rogers came up with was client-centered therapy. He very much wanted to focus in on the elements of the individual and the individual himself, and not go back into the individual's life. And basically what Rogers says is that individuals are good. Behaviors may be bad, but individuals are good. Okay, we have structuralism and functionalism. Structuralism studied basically what is conscious. In other words, they would hand a person, will say, here I have a pen, if I can find it. But yeah, I'm holding a pen in my hand. They would say, oh, okay, what are you thinking about as you are holding that pen? Part of structuralism. And then an individual by the name of William James came along and said, no, structuralism, or the conscious, is not static. The conscious is not static, but it's like a river of thoughts flowing through a person's mind. Now, I imagine that you sat in a classroom. Were you really focused in on the class? As an example, are you really focused in on this video, or do you have thoughts going different directions? Well, it would really be very normal to have thoughts going a different direction. So if you are thinking about different aspects at this time, last night's party, what are you going to do this afternoon? What are you going to do on the 4th of July? That's very normal. And okay, so the difference being then, Vaughn wanted to know about consciousness kind of in a static state, and William James came along, and this is functionalism, and it said really the conscious is like a stream running through the mind. Okay, we have a nature and nurture issue. On page 9, you have the various areas of psychology. Then in chapter 1, want to make psychology a science. And to make it a science, we have to use the scientific process. And if we're going to use the scientific process, we have to use stats. Now, statistics. Now, stats is a guide in a person's way of life. I mean, stats, what kind of clothes we wear, what kind of automobiles we like, what color we like, based on statistics. The food that we like, all based on statistics. If we would do a study, perform some type of statistical study and gather data, we would have an independent and a dependent variable. And if we wanted to find out how much ice cream individual, or let's say this, how quickly can a person eat a pint of ice cream, that would be the independent variable. The dependent variable would be the time in which they ate this pint of ice cream. Correlation is a comparison of two objects, two figures, two sets of data. It will say in the summertime, ice cream. Let's say this: ice cream causes crime. Okay, the correlation could be in the summertime, more ice cream is eaten In the summertime, more crime may be committed, but the two do not correlate. Ice cream and or cause. Ice cream does not cause crime, even though there's a correlation there. On page 36, we have a normal curve, what is called a normal curve. That's IQ. 100 points is normal. And what makes this a normal curve is one side is just like the other. They have a mode, median, and a mean there. And the curve, if you've seen this, has a high peak and then it has open ends on both sides, called a normal curve. If you haven't seen a normal curve, look on page 36 and you will see a normal curve. Okay, this concludes chapter 1. Next, we will be looking at chapter 2. I hope this gives you an idea. The Big Ten, have you got the Big Ten completed? Hopefully you have. Hopefully you've looked over the course and you understand the course. You've planned ahead so you can get this course in and enjoy it as we're going along. Have problems? You know where to ask or who to ask anyway. So until we see you on chapter 2, you have a good day.